All right. So I want to explain this document I just uploaded. It's for help on the essay. There are 3 steps you should be going through if you are struggling to start the essay. The first thing you really need to have any essay to begin with is the central idea, the central point, which is your argument, which is your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is the answer to the essay question I asked. The essay question I asked for this essay assignment was, how does a particular element of fiction shape the plot of a particular story? So take Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Birthmark. Say you are going to write about that, and say you want to talk about the symbolism of the birthmark, how the birthmark itself symbolizes, I don't know, the protagonist's need for perfection or whatever. So you're going to think about the plot of that story, and then your thesis statement is going to be like, Nathaniel Hawthorne uses symbolism in the birthmark to shape the plot of the story by, how does it shape the plot of the story? By exposing the imperfection of a need for perfection. It's not like, it seems sort of easy and accessible, and it is. It's not like I'm asking you to do something really complicated, but when you get into the nuances of a story, it can be really complicated to sort of work those out. So if you're struggling with it, that is okay. That's totally fine. But go back to that question and come up with an answer. You should have kind of a multi-layered thesis statement so you can actually explore it and write your essay. All right, so once you have a thesis statement, you're going to write it down on this piece of paper. You don't really have to, particularly if you're not printing it out, but write it down somewhere. What does the reader need to know in order to understand your thesis? When you write, please assume your reader has not read the piece of fiction about which you are writing your essay. So assume that I, who is your reader, have not read The Birthmark. And you're going to need to explain what the birthmark is, who the 2 characters are, and a very brief description of the plot. Go back to that sample essay and look at the introduction and how I think they only use 3 sentences to explain the plot of the story that they're talking about, which is Lord of the Flies, of course. Also look at all your sample writing from the book. They're on your syllabus listed for this week. That's the only reading you have for this week, and you've already read them, or you should have already read them. So go back to the syllabus, look at those pieces and read them again to get a sense of sample writing for analytical academic writing around literature. And then finally, once you have your thesis and background information, the whole point of an essay is to prove that your thesis is correct, right? So you are supporting that thesis, the ideas in that thesis, by going to the text, finding text evidence, quotations, and those quotations are going to support your topic sentences, and your topic sentences are sub-arguments under that main argument, which is your thesis statement. So really, writing an essay is so similar to like building a house. You really need to start with the foundation, which is your thesis statement, and then you need to kind of build around that. Make sure that everything is reinforced. So I want you to also, if you're struggling, go back and look at the essay skeleton that I uploaded on Blackboard right now, but it's also, I think, the final page of your syllabus. You've had that the whole time. So that's what, again, we don't want to follow traditional 5-paragraph essays, but you do need a structure to start from. And if you are really coming up with a strong thesis, really defending it by coming up with smaller points under the thesis that support that thesis, and then exploring those smaller points with evidence, you'll have a strong essay, or at least the beginnings of a strong essay. And then once I get your drafts, we can look at them. I'm hoping that they'll be final drafts. If they are not, if more than, say, 50% of our class needs to have a rewrite, then we will extend our drafting for a week, and you'll have a chance to write it over. Okay, so if everyone's doing fine, we won't do that. But if there's a need for these to be a rough draft, they'll become a rough draft. So don't worry about it. But really, to start, you need to answer that essay question. And you need to, of course, in order to do that, know what story you want to talk about. And also review those elements of fiction that we've been talking about. All right.